leaned closer to hear him. Arya's heart pounded, but she didn't step back. She had run from too many shadows in her life. She forced her trembling hand to set the lantern firmly on the desk beside the journals. "You said, prophecy? You know what I am?" The old man tilted his head, studying her with those unsettling smoke-colored eyes. "I know enough. I knew your grandmother. I knew your mother. And I know the price of your blood." Her mouth went dry. "The price?" Ezran leaned forward, his voice a rasp, sliding through the air like a blade. "You carry the spirit-touched bloodline. Half of flesh, half of something older, wilder. Your mother hid, but fate can't be fooled. It hunts those who bear both worlds." He nodded toward her still-bandaged arm. "Already, your blood calls. The rogues smell it. The Alpha feels it. And soon others will come, whose hunger runs deeper still." Arya swallowed hard, clutching her arm against her chest. "Why me? What does it want from me?" Ezran's lips curled faintly, not quite a smile. "To decide whether wolves see another dawn, or whether they are broken forever. Your bond is not simple chance, girl. It is design. The mate bond is a gift and a chain, and yours is tied not only to Kale the man, but Kale the Alpha. His strength is yours to awaken, but the prophecy binds you both into a blade, sharp enough to cut destiny itself." Her stomach clenched until she thought she might retch. "I don't understand." "You will," Ezran said simply. His gaze bored into her, heavy as the sky. The daughter of two worlds must be claimed by her Alpha in blood. If she resists the bond, chaos will devour the pack. If he accepts it, his soul will bleed into hers, and some piece of him, perhaps his life, will be lost. Arya shook her head violently. No, there must be another way." "There is always another way," Ezran murmured, "but every path bears a price." She collapsed into the chair opposite him, clutching her hair, breath ragged. So it was true. Kyle's rejection wasn't cowardice. It was shield, sacrifice. He believed if he denied her, he was protecting the pack and saving her from blood-written ruin. Yet the bond pulsed in her chest with undeniable fury, as though fate laughed at his denial and hers both. "Then what am I supposed to do?" she whispered hoarsely. Ezran tilted his head. "Learn from your blood. Wield it. You cannot be prey hiding in the dark. You were born for this. And if you are to survive, if the Blackthorn Alpha is to survive, you must stop weeping over his rejection and claim who you are." Her heart stuttered, rage and despair colliding in her chest. She wanted to deny him, to reject the unbearable weight he pressed onto her shoulders, but the bond flared hot with cruel agreement. Part of her knew. He spoke the truth. A sudden knock rattled the cabin door. Both of them stilled, instincts sharp. Ezran's eyes narrowed, hand twitching as if he would summon claws in an instant. The scent hit Arya next, pine smoke and embers, sharp enough to burn her lungs. Kyle, her throat seized as the door flung open. He stood framed by the night, massive and merciless, silver eyes gleaming almost unnaturally. Blood had dried along his shoulder, where scars reopened, his chest heaving with the air of barely leashed violence. And when his gaze found Ezran seated across from her, it turned to murder. "Get away from her!" he snarled, voice low and shaking like iron about to snap. Ezran didn't move. Only those unnerving eyes slid toward Kale, calm as still water. "You've grown into your father's fire, Alpha. But fire without balance only consumes." Kale's hands curled to fists, his wolf pulsing at the edges, making his form tremble. He stepped inside, dominance crashing over the cabin like a storm. Arya gasped under its weight, instinctively bracing herself. "She's mine," he growled, primal, feral. "Not yours to poison." Arya's head whipped to him, her chest clenched in a labyrinth of pain. "Mine." The word seared straight into her soul. Her blood surged violently in response, heat blazing down her arms until the wound on her forearm pulsed as if lit by fire. Hezron's lips curled finally into that faint, uncanny smile. "You say what you pretend not to want." "Silence, old wolf." Kael's voice cracked against the wood, brittle with grief and fury both. He turned his gaze on Arya, raw and devastating. "Come with me. Now." Her body swayed toward him, as though the bond itself commanded her feet to move. She hated it. Hated how her pulse leapt the instant his voice touched her name, inside her mind. But her spine stiffened. She didn't move. "No." The word pierced the thick silence. Kael froze, his nostrils flaring in disbelief. His silver eyes flashed brighter, feral. "Do you not understand the danger of being with him? Ezran is the only one giving me answers instead of cruelty." She cut sharply, voice shaking but furious. "You tell me I'm nothing, then you bleed for me. You burn me with rejection, then you turn up claiming I'm yours. You can't have it both ways, Gael." The cabin seemed smaller as both wolves' power clashed in the air, pressing on her lungs until she thought she might suffocate. Kael's jaw ticked, every muscle in him coiled tight, like he warred with forces stronger than himself. Then, with a voice lowered to a growl meant for her alone, he spoke. "You think you want the truth, Arya? Then hear it. If I claim you, if I give in to what my wolf howls for every breath I take, then prophecy demands my blood. If I mark you, I damn myself and maybe everything I was born to protect. That is why I push you away. That is why I will never claim you." Ezran's low rasp broke the silence. "Or why you will. And perhaps she will save you, not damn you. Prophecy is not law. It is warning. And warnings can be wielded." Arya's breath hitched, torn between their clashing truths. Kael's gaze flicked back to her, silver and burning, his voice cracked in a whisper. "Why won't you just leave?" Her answer trembled straight from her marrow. "Because you are the only place I've ever belonged, and I won't let fate or fear take that from me." For the first time, Kael's face broke open. His fury collapsed into anguish, his walls shattered, just long enough for her to glimpse it. The depth of his craving, his torment, the wolf inside him, howling her name. Then claws raked the outside of the door, and the cabin shuddered with snarls. Rogues. Hezron rose slowly, eyes gleaming, voice a low hiss. They are here for her blood. The choice is no longer tomorrow's. It is now. The door cracked under the force of fangs and claws, splinters flying inward. Kael's wolf surged so violently it shook the air, his body already snapping toward shift. His last look at her was pure desperation. "Stay behind me!" But Arya trembled with something harder than fear. Rage, determination. Her blood boiled in her veins, stirring awake like a second heartbeat, rising to answer the attack. She would not be prey. Not anymore. Shall I write the next chapter? The rogues hit the cabin door like an avalanche, claws tearing the wood, jaws snapping through splinters. The lantern on the desk shuddered, its flame flaring high, as if reacting to the chaos clawing its way inside. Arya's own blood thundered, echoing the rhythm of the snarls, binding her body to the violence about to erupt. Kael's wolf erupted first. His body broke apart into night and muscle, fur dark as shadow spilling from his skin. The shift rattled the very walls, brutal and fast, one heartbeat of man, and the next heartbeat, all predator. His silver eyes burned like twin moons, fixed on the doorway as his growl shook the floors. The pressure of his dominance filled the cabin, so powerful even Ezran half bowed his head in respect. But Kael's fury wasn't directed at Ezran. It was entirely for the monsters trying to rip the walls away to get to her. The bond writhed between Kael and Arya, snapping, crackling, pulling every nerve in her body toward him. Her instincts screamed past reason to press herself against his side, to lace her fingers into his fur and never let go. He was a fortress, and her soul belonged inside its walls. But frost spread over the cabin floor, blooming from beneath her feet. The rage inside her wouldn't be still. It wanted to fight, to burn. The rogues burst in at last, three gaunt shapes, muzzles foaming, ribs too sharp beneath their pelts. Their yellow eyes locked straight on Arya the instant they crossed the threshold, their twisted obsession plain. The half-blood, give it to us. One thought hissed across the bond space, not a voice, but too loud to be imagined. It wasn't her own thought, and it sure as hell wasn't Kael's. It leaked from the rogue's fevered hunger. Impossible, yet terrifyingly clear. Her stomach twisted with dread, but Kael was already a storm of fur and fangs. He collided with one rogue before it hit the floorboards, his jaws snapping through its throat. The spray of blood hit the cabin wall. His growl thundered as he tore it down and flung its carcass against the doorframe. Another rogue lunged for Ezran, but the old wolf was faster than his years. His shift was slower, stranger, the crack of bones like wood breaking, limbs lengthening into something more hunched and monstrous than Kael's graceful beast. His wolf was scarred and pale, thick with age, but his jaws clamped down hard. The rogue shrieked as Ezran crushed a shoulder bone in his teeth. The third lunged for Arya. She screamed, but it wasn't the helpless cry Kael expected. No, the sound cut higher, sharper, riding the storm in her blood. Her throat burned raw as her scream rang through the cabin. The very air slammed outward with the force of it. The rogue convulsed mid-leap, howling as its own momentum crashed it against the cabin wall. Frost laced the boards where its body struck, locking its limbs unnaturally stiff. Arya gasped, her hands on her throat in horror. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight beneath the surface, her blood pulsing against her veins with unnatural heat. The wolf staggered free, shaking off her attack, but Kael was already there. With a snarl that split the night, he struck, claws sinking, jaws tearing until the rogue stopped fighting. The silence after the slaughter was almost worse. Arya's entire body shook, her breathing shallow. Her eyes burned with tears, but her chest crackled with a wild exhilaration she didn't dare admit. For the first time, she hadn't been prey. She had fought back. She had stopped something meant to kill her. But Kael turned on her, chest heaving, silver eyes not full of victory but fear. "You saw it," she whispered, voice breaking. "You saw what I did." "You didn't fight it," he growled, half wolf still, his words curved by a muzzle, but sharp enough to pierce. Blood drenched his fur, but his focus was entirely on her. "You unleashed it, and you have no idea what you've done." Her tears spilled hot down her cheeks. "I saved myself. You endangered yourself." His snarl shook the cabin beams. He took a threatening step toward her, every nerve in him trembling, his beast pacing dangerously behind his eyes. Do you think prophecy is a game? Every time you spread your power, you mark yourself and us. You summon enemies by the smell of your blood alone. You are a beacon calling ruin down on this pack. The cruelty made her flinch, but she forced herself to stay upright, to meet his furious eyes with her own raw pain. Then teach me to control it. If my blood is fire, help me hold it instead of burning alive. You keep pushing me away, but do you really think I'll stop? That I'll give up? This bond won't let me. You won't let me. The bond pulsed hot between them, wrapping her fury to his rage until both shook from the strain of denial. She could hear his heartbeat pounding through her own ribs, feel the bite of his hunger, even as his words rejected her. His claws shrank slowly as he forced the shift back, trembling, blood dripping down his chest. In human form again, Kale's voice was raw and shaking, every word ground like glass against stone. I will not lose my pack for you. Arya's lip trembled, a sob lodged in her chest. And what if you lose them without me? The question cut deeper than a blade. For one breath, his silver eyes broke, hollowed by truth he didn't want. And she saw what he already feared. That without her, without the bond, without her strange hybrid magic, Blackthorn was crumbling by the day. But his walls slammed back up with brutal force. He turned from her sharply, blood trailing from his wounds to the door. Leave this place, he growled. If you care for me at all, leave before your presence destroys everything. And without waiting for her answer, he stepped outside into the night, his silhouette swallowed by the mist. Arya collapsed against the wall, knees trembling, her soul shredded. Each time he rejected her, it hurt worse than claws. But this, the cruelty laced with confessions he couldn't stop letting slip, was unbearable. He wanted her, he feared her, and he chose fear. Ezran shifted back into his frail human body, leaning against the desk, with his scarred hands folded, his smoldering gaze heavy on her. His fight is with prophecy, not with you. He will destroy himself, running from what hunts him. Arya dug her nails into her palms. The frost spread wider across the floor, answering the storm raging inside her chest. Her tears hissed where they struck the ground, turning to ice. Then I'll save him, she whispered hoarsely. Her voice broke, but determination had hardened into steel. If he can't believe I'm not a curse, I'll become the proof myself. I'll learn what this power is. I'll master it. And even if it kills me, I will save him from himself. Ezran's smoke-colored eyes narrowed, like a predator watching prey choose claws of her own. He nodded faintly, approving. Then at last, you begin to sound like the Luna you're meant to be. Outside, the cold wind howled through the pines, like ravenous wolves, as if echoing the battle yet to come. And fate, Arya knew now, wouldn't wait much longer. Shall I write the next chapter? The cabin felt like a tomb once Kale's presence had vanished. Every heartbeat of distance between them was another shard ripping through her chest. But the echo of his cruelty burned hotter than even the ache of the bond. If you care for me at all, leave. The words struck again and again, but Arya forced herself to stay hunched over the desk, littered with her mother's journals, tears streaking her cheeks. No. She wouldn't leave. Not when the rogues were stalking her blood. Not when Kale was unraveling, even as he tried to deny it. His rejection didn't protect her. It only broke them both. and Ezran's eyes, sharp and unrelenting, left her no room for indulgent grief. "Do you hear it?" His rough voice rasped into the silence. Arya looked up, throat tight. "Hear what?" "The thread between you. The bond. It sings louder now." Ezran's smoldering gaze narrowed. Every rejection deepens it, not weakens it. He thinks starving it will free him, but it only tightens the noose. If you don't learn control, if he doesn't face the truth, it will consume you both. Arya pressed her palms to her knees to stop their shaking. "Then show me how. Teach me." For a long moment, Ezran measured her like she was a blade being tested. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. "Very well. But know this, child. You will hurt. Power always demands pain before it yields." The days blurred after that, stitched together by bruises, exhaustion, and the strange rhythm of training Ezran forced her into. At dawn, he dragged her into the forest, made her attack him with screams, made her bleed until the frost curled willingly to her hands and not her tears. At night, he pressed the prophecy onto her tongue, over and over, making her recite until her voice was ragged. The daughter of two worlds, claimed in blood, either ruin or rebirth. The power in her veins was fierce, wild. At first it slipped out against her will, a shard of ice splintering a boulder when Ezran pressed her too far in anger, a gust of unnatural wind knocking him to his knees when she panicked. But slowly, painfully, she began to shape it, to breathe it instead of choke on it. Still, every training ended the same. Her body collapsed against the earth, trembling, her blood burning from the strain, and every night her dreams brought her back to that cursed meadow with Kyle. Their bond wove them together, whether or not he wished it. She woke shaken, aching with his distance, feeling his guilt claw through her ribs, as though it were her own. He was unraveling, weakening with every sunrise. Ezran saw it too. One evening he finally said, "Your alpha is tearing the pack apart, faster than prophecy." His wolf phrase, "without you." Arya's spoon paused halfway to her lips beside the fire. "What do you mean?" "The pack," Ezran said gravely, "bleeds dominance from him now. He falters. The bond sustains an alpha girl. Without your strength to balance his, he cannot hold them. Rogues grow bolder. Already you've seen it. They will tear through Blackthorn before Kale admits the truth." Her throat closed around the stew like it was ash. She had felt it every night in their shared pain. The way his control slipped further, his beast closer to breaking free. The whispers of hunger he buried. She thought it was her desperation tangled in him, but no. It was him, losing ground. "I have to help him," she whispered. Ezran tilted his head. "You've begun to understand your place, but helping a man set on destroying himself requires more than strength. It requires resolve, sacrifice." His ash-colored eyes pierced her. "You must decide if you're willing to risk his blood for the chance to save him." Her hands trembled, fists clenching around her knees until her knuckles whitened. "Yes, whatever it takes." The old wolf smiled faintly, the expression grim as a grave. "Then when the storm comes, we'll see if your bond falls to ruin or forges rebirth." The storm came sooner than Arya expected. It hit at twilight, days later. She woke to the sharp, metallic taste of blood, not her own. Panic flooded her chest as her vision blurred and snapped into something that wasn't her own eyes. Kyle. She was seeing through him, breath rasped in his throat. His claws slick, crimson, bodies of rogues sprawled around him. His chest heaved, wounds torn deep across his ribs, and his wolf surged too close to the surface, snapping like a caged beast. She felt his fury, his despair, his hunger for her, so sharp it burned her lungs. Pain seared her as though his wounds lived in her flesh too. "He's dying," her mind screamed. "Kyle!" She gasped his name aloud, curling onto the cabin's floor. Her blood pulsed violently, frosting the boards around her. Ezran grabbed her shoulders, his voice a hiss. "The bond pulls you to him. They're attacking the den. The rogues make their claim. If you do not go, neither he nor the pack will survive the night." Her heart nearly split inside her body, but resolve crystallized, like the frost spreading beneath her palms. She would not leave him to die believing lies. She would not let his wolf tear itself apart in agony. She would not let prophecy be written only in ruin. Arya shoved to her feet, her eyes blazing, breath frosting the air. "Then I'll go. I'll fight. For him, whether he wants me or not." Ezran gave a sharp nod, approval and warning tangled in his gaze. "Then you must be ready. The bond will demand more than strength tonight. It will demand trust." Arya clenched her bloodied fists. "Then I'll make him trust me if it kills me." She grabbed her cloak and ran into the night, the echoes of battle already ringing from the direction of Blackthorn's den. Wolves howled, steel clashed, and the stench of blood filled the wind. And she knew this battle wasn't just the pack's, it was hers. The prophecy no longer waited quietly in journals. It had come tonight to be claimed. Shall I write the next chapter? The night roared with wolves. Arya tore through the trees, branches clawing her cheeks and hair as the howls grew closer. Savage screams split with the metallic clash of teeth on steel. The scent hit her next. Blood, thick and coppery, drifting like smoke through the forest. Her lungs seized. Through the thread of the bond, she felt his pain like claws sinking into her ribs, hot and suffocating. Kyle was bleeding badly, surrounded, trying to hold his pack together, but the tethered weight of despair, dragging from him, told her the truth. He was faltering. The crest of the ridge opened to Blackthorn's den, and chaos stretched across it like a battlefield. Wolves clashed with wolves, sleek Blackthorn bodies colliding with gaunt rogues, snarls splitting the night sky. Shadows whipped through the trees, claws flashing, blood matting fur. The stone cliffs that ringed the den reverberated with thunderous howls, every sound a war drum rattling Arya's bones. But her gaze found him instantly. Kale. He stood in the heart of the slaughter, a hurricane clothed in fur and blood. His wolf tore through rogues with terrifying efficiency, fangs sinking, ripping, flinging dismembered bodies into the dust. But even the strongest storms weaken, and Arya could feel him crumbling beneath the relentless waves. His breaths were ragged, muscles shuddering, his wounds too many to count, long gashes across his back, blood spurting bright from his flank. His silver eyes still blazed, but she felt the flicker, the fragile wall he fought to keep between Alpha and ruin. Her throat clenched. He won't last. And the rogue leader was watching him from the shadows. A massive wolf, pelled grey with streaks of black, eyes glowing not a wild yellow, but red with madness. He had not joined the fray. He waited, slinking along the edge, waiting for Kale to break, and for Arya to be vulnerable. because his gaze slid not only across the Alpha, but snapped to her the instant she stumbled into view. Hunger flared hot in those molten eyes. The half-blood. His voice slithered across her mind, distorted. Your blood will make me Alpha. I will drink it, claim your bond, and Blackthorn will crawl beneath me. Her heart plummeted into ice. The rogue Alpha lunged, not for Kale, but straight for her. Arya screamed, but this time, it wasn't terror. It was fury, risen like a beast inside her. The ground answered. The earth cracked beneath her feet as frost exploded outward in a glimmering wave, spikes of ice rising from the soil and stabbing into the rogue's pelt as he launched. It knocked him sideways, mid-sprint, slamming him against the cliff. Pack wolves and rogues alike faltered for mere seconds to turn toward her. And in those seconds, Kale's head twisted sharply, silver eyes locking on her through the battlefield. Recognition shattered across his bloodied face. The pull ripped through them, both like lightning snapping a tether. He felt her fury surging. She saw his wounds burning. She tasted his blood in her mouth. He felt her frost gnawing the ground through her skin. The bond had never sung so loud. Arya, her name was an ache in his chest, a mark branded in his soul. Kyle, she choked his in return, rushing forward despite wolves scattering around her. The battle seemed to fold around them, enemies and allies clashing but forgotten. She reached him just as another rogue collapsed against his flank, tearing open another gash. And without thinking, Arya pressed her hands to him. Her blood burned, her veins seared as though molten silver rushed beneath them. Light bled from her palms into his skin, spilling across his wounds. The gash hissed, the bleeding slowed. He jerked, as though struck with fire. His massive body, rigid as power, roared through him. She screamed from the sheer force, ripping out of her, but she refused to let go. And Kale, Alpha, wolf, man, stumbled in shock as strength poured back into him. The cuts across his body knitted, the ragged weakness inside his chest smoothed, replaced by her surge of energy. He lifted his head and howled, the sound carrying so loud and fierce the clash froze on the battlefield. His wolves threw back their heads in chorus, emboldened by the power resurfacing from their Alpha. But the rogue leader broke her frost with a snarl, his red eyes glaring. No, that blood is mine! He lunged again, fangs wide. Kale moved before thought could exist. His massive wolf slammed into the rogue mid-air, their bodies colliding like titans. Claws ripped, jaws snapped, dirt and stone cracked under their weight. Blood rained across the battlefield as Alpha and Usurper tore at each other. Arya staggered after him, screaming his name, frost spill still burning her palms. She could feel him through the bond, the strain, the fury, the resolve, but also the fear. Not for himself, but for her. She was his weakness, his undoing. The unavoidable thread prophecy had wrapped around his throat. Fangs sank into Kyle's shoulder. He roared, but his strength held. Her strength flowed into him still, their bond alive like a rope binding river to stone. He spun with brutal force, teeth clamping into the rogue's throat. His silver eyes locked into Arya's, even as his jaws crushed bone, and the bond sang with primal sound. You are mine, even if it kills me. The final crack split the night. The rogue leader collapsed against the dirt, lifeless, his red gaze extinguished. The rogues scattered instantly without their Alpha, shrieks echoing as they vanished into the trees. Blackthorn wolves howled in triumph, the sound fierce and desperate. But Arya could only see Kale. He shifted back into a blood-slick man, staggering, barely standing, though her power had kept him from death. His chest heaved, his hair falling wild into his sweat-streaked face. His eyes, molten silver, fixed only on her. She stumbled forward, tears streaming, frost trailing from her steps. When her hands touched his chest, when his reach to crush against her back, the bond erupted fully, violently, as though no denial could hold it anymore. The meadow of their dreams drowned them both. Light, frost, fire, blood, souls tangled, bodies pressed, as if their hearts were one. She gasped his breath into her lungs, felt his soul slam into hers, and he whispered, broken and guttural, forehead crushing to hers. I can't protect you from this anymore. Fate doesn't care for my fear. You're mine, Arya, my Luna. Her sob split into a laugh, strangled with relief and disbelief, her hands fisting into his bloodied skin. And you are mine. The world around them pulsed with unnatural energy. The prophecy's shadow cracking into the space between their joined bodies. Kyle's blood smeared across her palms, the frost in her veins answering it with light. Their union was no longer denial, it was claim, and prophecy had only just begun to demand its price. Shall I write the next chapter?